Prime Minister Narendra Modi emphasized in his recent speech the need for the uniform civil code in the Indian society, and he questioned that can one country run with such dual system. So in this video we will discuss the uniform civil code, which is widely been in news, and we will discuss its parameters and its pros and cons in with respect to the implementation of it in the Indian society, right? So let's begin. So guys, not only Prime Minister Narendra Modi, couple of years back the Supreme Court have also time and again demanded the need of the uniform civil code in the Indian society, and here you can see very famous statement of the Supreme Court that a uniform law, though is highly desirable, enactment thereof in one go perhaps may be counterproductive to the unity and integrity of the nation. And the Supreme Court has emphasized many a time for the implementation of the uniform civil codes in the Indian society. So let's dive in. Now guys, the very first question comes that what is the UCC? Many a time you must have heard this term UCC, that is the Uniform Civil Code. So what it basically means. So to put it into the simplest term, the Uniform Civil Code is basically common law for all the people irrespective of their religion regarding to some specific areas. And what are these areas? These areas are marriage, divorce, maintenance, inheritance, adoption and succession of the property. So basically these civil areas are these some specific areas where the Uniform Civil Code will enact. Now what does it mean when we say that Uniform Civil Code deals with the marriage? It simply means that since the Indian society is very diverse, it has very kinds of, it has a number of religions and customs and caste. So many different religions have different customs and different rules and regulations related to their marriage and the process of marriage. So many a times it creates an ambiguity in the judiciary machinery to recognize such marriages. So hence to eliminate such problems, the Uniform Civil Code will present a common marriage law for all the people irrespective of their religion. This will clear the ambiguity and make the legal recognition of the marriage more simple. Now if we talk about the constitution, it is not that our constitution haven't mentioned the implementation of this Uniform Civil Code. In the directive principle of state policies, that is the DPSP, it is clearly mentioned in the article 44 that the state shall endeavour to provide for its citizen a uniform civil code throughout the territory of India. Apart from that, if we talk about Goa, then Goa is the only state of the India that has the Uniform Civil Code in action. Here you can see that Goa is the only Indian state to have a Uniform Civil Code in the form of common family law. The Portuguese Civil Code, since you know that Goa was a Portuguese colony for a very long time, so therefore the Portuguese enacted the Uniform Civil Code during the colonial time and it remains till now. Here you can see that the Portuguese civil law that remains in the force even today was introduced in the 19th century in Goa and wasn't replaced after its liberation. So Goa is a perfect example of a state which is running smoothly with the implementation of Uniform Civil Code without any communal violence, without any hatred. Now we talk about the pros and cons of the Uniform Civil Code, then it becomes a very imperative things and makes the debate very clear. So the very first advantage of implementing the Uniform Civil Code is that it will integrate India as a whole, right? India is a country with many religion, custom and practices. A Uniform Civil Code will help in integrating India more than it has been ever since the independence. It will help in bringing every Indian, despite his caste, religion or tribe, under one national civil code. So hence the very first argument is that it will integrate the entire India. Apart from that, the second point is that it will help in reducing the vote bank politics. Now it is also very vital and will play a pivotal role in the Indian democratic system. Since we know that a lot of politics and vote bank politics are being played on the basis of religion, caste and culture, so hence the Uniform Civil Code will eliminate such kind of vote bank politics and make the election more free and fair. Here you can see that a Uniform Civil Code will help in reducing the vote bank politics that most political parties indulge in during every election. Apart from that, personal law are loophole. By allowing personal law, we have constituted an alternative judiciary that still operates on thousands of years old value. The Uniform Civil Code will change that. So if you see many progressive nations, then the Uniform Civil Code will be a basic principle in their constitution. It is a sign that the nation has moved away because the Uniform Civil Code because the implementation of the Uniform Civil Code is a sign that our nation has moved away from caste and religious politics. While our economic growth has been significant, our social growth has lagged behind. A uniform civil code will help society move forward and take India towards its goal of becoming a truly developed nation. So hence, it will play a pivotal role in the progression of the nation. Apart from that, many a time we see that the women of the society are marginalized on the basis of religion and caste during the divorce or some marriages, or if or related to some inheritance or succession of property. So hence, the implementation of the uniform civil code will provide more rights to the women of the Indian society. Apart from that, since India is a diverse country with many religions and caste and culture, hence the implementation of the uniform civil code will act as a binding effect and bring more secularism in the Indian society. Apart from that, many a time we can see that there is a lot of judicial burden on the judiciary system, and hence the implementation of the uniform civil code will reduce the existing confusion and the pressure on the judicial system and make the system more simple and smooth. Now, if we talk about the challenges or the cons of the uniform civil code, then these are the follows. The very first challenge which is very evident is that there is a lot of misinformation about the uniform civil code, that it will compromise some person's religion or the practicing of the some religious faith. That is completely wrong, and it is not such. So hence, the very first thing is that such kind of misinformation have to be eliminated from our society and proper awareness have to be focused. Apart from that, some section of the minority claim that it is a way of imposing majority views on them, because since we know that India is a democratic country, then so therefore a lot of minority people have a voice against the uniform civil code for any reason, but a majority of the people think that the uniform civil code is good for the Indian society. So therefore the minority of the people somehow feel that their rights are getting compromised, and the majority of the people are imposing their views on them. So this is also a hindrance in the implementation of the uniform civil code, and the government of India need to counter it. Apart from that, if we talk about the political will, then that is also not quite impressive in order to implement the uniform civil code. So therefore, the lack of political will due to the complexity and sensitivity of the situation is also a major hindrance in the implementation of the uniform. And of course, there are different religious communities which have different personal law which lead to politicization, and therefore the political parties do not go in the favor of a uniform civil code many times, because they fear that their vote bank could be compromised. Hence, these are some challenges about the uniform civil code. Apart from that, the very important challenge also is to recognize the tribal people, which many a times people ignore. The tribal, since we know that the tribal people are those people which are not mainstream and they have their own personal customs and culture. So hence, the government of India should recognize their culture and custom and look forward how the implementation of the uniform civil code could be made understood to these people also, and how these people could be brought to the mainstream. Now, if we talk about the arguments against the uniform civil code, then these are follows. The very first argument against the uniform civil code is that many a time people feel that with the implementation of the uniform civil code, their religious freedom is getting violated and compromised. So this is a very strong argument. Critics argue that the uniform civil code infringe upon their freedom to practice the religion of one's choice, which allows religious community to follow their own personal laws. For example, Article 25 of the Indian Constitution gives every religious group the right to manage its own affairs, and Article 29 allows them to conserve their distinct culture. So Article 25 and 29 many a time act as a hindrance in the implementation of the uniform civil code. Apart from that, the second argument is that it is a threat to cultural diversity. Critics argue that the individual personal law reflects the distinct customs and tradition of different religious communities, and a uniform civil code could undermine this diversity. They contend that the uniform civil code could lead to a homogenization of a law which would not be in keeping with India's multicultural ethos. So, in a nutshell, that the cultural diversity of the Indian society could be compromised with the implementation of the uniform. Apart from that, as we discussed, that the tribal and ethnic communities need to get compromised. So, since many northeastern India's tribal and ethnic communities fear that uniform civil code infringe on their customary law and social economic practice, and we can see that Manipur, Mizoram, Meghalaya, and Nagaland have seen opposition to the Uniform Civil Code from civil society groups and allies of their ruling coalition. So this is also a strong argument against the Uniform Civil Code. Apart from that, if we talk about the way forward or the suggestion which the government of India should follow, then these are follows. That the very first thing that the government of India can do is that to spread a proper awareness about the Uniform Civil Code and make sure that the people are well informed about the Uniform Civil Code. Apart from that, the government can spread more awareness via newspapers and camps in order to make people aware of the Uniform Civil Code. And the most effective suggestion is that since the matter being sensitive in nature, it's always better if the initiative comes from religious groups concerned. That is, if our religious people, if our religious leaders of a respective religion come forward and support the Uniform Civil Code, then half of the battle is won, and the people will be satisfied that their religious freedom will not be getting compromised via the implementation of the Uniform Civil Code. So this was all about the Uniform Civil Code. Hope you like this video. If you like this video, please hit the like button, do drop a comment section and do subscribe my channel. Till the time, Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.